Hi, my name is Tony Morrow, and this is Introduction to Project Management. In the last episode, we discussed the project charter, and today we'll discuss identifying stakeholders. Stakeholders are the people, groups, or organizations that could impact or be impacted or perceive themselves to be affected by a decision, activity, or outcome of the project. While the pharaohs, priests, and slaves of ancient Egypt were all impacted by the construction of the pyramids, they may not have thought of us today as stakeholders many millennia later. But we are. The pyramids continue to attract interest historically, economically, and academically. The rollout of a new killer iPhone app will certainly impact iPhone users, but it also influences the competition, Android phones. If the app is an Apple exclusive, there may be pressure for Android to adapt it. Those pesky Android users can't use Face ID. Almost there. Almost got it. The rollout of a new program or service from the government will benefit those who use the program. But what is the impact on nonprofits providing a similar service? Will it put them out of business or benefit their business model? What about neighboring communities or taxpayers across the country? It's not only those who are impacted or those who could be impacted, but those who perceive or think that they are that we need to be thinking of. Identifying stakeholders is the last step of our initiating process. Let's take a quick look at our quick reference guide to see. Now, in a traditional waterfall methodology, which is the foundation for this course, it might seem that this happens only once in the beginning. But in the spirit of being flexible and adaptable and responsive to your project environment, I challenge you to be open to identifying stakeholders throughout the project. Much like risk and other topics we'll explore in future episodes, changing conditions and new information that may come up during the project can identify new stakeholders that weren't previously considered. While the pharaohs are long gone, we are still reaping the rewards of the pyramids today through archaeology, Egyptology, tourism, and the 1980s pop hit Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bangles. In order for us to properly identify our stakeholders, we'll need some inputs. The first is our project charter, which we talked about in our last episode. We'll also need our agreements, which we used in creating the charter, and the business case or the motivation for starting the project and the benefits that come from the project. Adding onto this hero sandwich are our F's and OPAs from episode 2. Now, those are the basics, but there are two other groups of inputs that can inform who our stakeholders are. And this is why I challenge you to continually identify stakeholders. The project management plan, which includes strategies for communications management and stakeholder engagement, is incredibly useful, and your project documents including your stated requirements and any known issues or changes that need to be made. But Tony, we don't have a plan or any documents. You are correct. However, depending on the detail of your charter, you may have a rough outline of your plan and scheduled milestones. You may also have your approval requirements and the high-level requirements for the project. In short, you have the bulk of what you need, but returning to this as you progress through the project will allow you to use more and better information to better identify potential stakeholders, stakeholder risks, and other issues that may impact your project. Be flexible, adaptable, and revisit your progress throughout the project. Some of the tools to help build your list of stakeholders include some data gathering techniques. Using questionnaires and surveys, either in group settings or one-on-one, can help pull data from multiple sources. Brainstorming with your project team and subject matter experts can help spur creativity and help new ideas or perspectives be identified. Remember, expert judgment or having experience in an industry or project type or the organizational environment can be an efficient way to quickly identify known stakeholders from previous similar projects within a like industry. Once stakeholders have been identified, this will, ironically, inform and later update our project management plan. It will also produce documents such as a stakeholder register. A stakeholder register is a project document that includes the identification, assessment, and classification of project stakeholders. This register may also include some amplifying information about your stakeholders. Part of your stakeholder register will include an analysis of a stakeholder, their interests, how they as a person or group is affected by the decisions related to the project or its outcomes. Rights, legal rights such as health and safety or defined by any national legislation. And moral rights, perhaps involving historical site protection or environmental sustainability. Ownership, a person or group that has legal title to an asset or property. Knowledge, specialist knowledge, which can benefit the project through more effective delivery of project objectives, organizational outcomes, or knowledge of power structures within the organization. Contribution, what financial or other resources, including human resources, or providing support for the project, are they providing? Are they supporting the project through advocacy or promoting the project? Do they act as a buffer, shielding the project from organizational power struggles? With this analysis complete, you can choose to classify these stakeholders. If you are at the beginning of the project, then the stakeholder register will help you with creating the project management plan. If this is revisited, then there may be a need to update the plan. These changes will be recorded in our documents, specifically the assumption log, a list of our strategic and operational assumptions and constraints usually identified in the business case. Our issue log, a document that records and tracks problems or conflicts that need addressing. We will discuss this in the next episode. And our risk register, which is like our stakeholder register in that it identifies and tracks threats and opportunities to the project. We'll address this in a future episode. With our stakeholders identified, analyzed, and categorized, we are now ready to start planning. In this episode, we defined who stakeholders are, discussed how to identify them, and described the inputs and outputs. We detailed what goes into a stakeholder registry, and in the next episode, we'll start planning.